Welcome. All right, so today what we're doing is a quick run on Super Auto Pets. This weekly has been giving me some headaches. It's got a few different options in terms of what we're able to do, and I would say that it's pretty easy to get a strong team in the early game. The pivot is really like, I'd say tier 3, tier 4 is where it gets a little bit tricky, just because a lot of the early pets will not really be the ones that will take you all the way there. You know, some weeklies you can actually get some early pets that will be able to ride with you throughout the whole entire thing. I just feel like this weekly you really need a really hard pivot right around tier 5. And if you don't get it right, you're just going to get outclassed very, very quickly, because the tier 5 and tier 6 pets this weekly are very strong. And there's also not a ton. There is some scaling, but there's not a ton of scaling in the early game. So basically what ends up happening is that if you are getting into the late game and you haven't had a lot of scaling, and then you face up some teams that are way stronger than you, then you end up running into some issues. Team name for this run is called a Desolate Mammals. I would say, if you're up in the tundra and you're out on your own, you might be a desolate mammal. Do you think the last woolly mammoth was a desolate mammal? That's a question that we may want to ask. The other thing that I really want to make sure that we are taking a look at is just making sure that with our team here, we're not necessarily allowing ourselves to fall behind the curve too much. As I was saying, the curve and the ramp up on this weekly is very, very fast. You're just not really going to have some of the opportunities in other weeklies where you can get an early scaler and just scale your team up to super stats by turn 12. It's just not really in this weekly, at least from what I've seen. So what we're doing here is we're bringing in the capybara because it will give us the +2 attack and +1 health for rolled pets in the shop. And I think that was recently debuffed. I was playing the weekly a lot on my phone, and what I noticed was that there's actually a difference between playing it on my phone and playing it on my computer. I don't play it on my computer nearly as much, but I think they rolled out in the middle of this weekly, or maybe it's just me on my computer. They rolled out some of the debuffs or just new effects and stats that they had been testing in the test server, and so I'm still getting a bit used to that. So if you see some brain dead moves, definitely make fun of me in the comments for that. I'm only halfway kidding with that. I think the capybara is going to be here at least until tier 5, so we'll give it that. We're really, really hoping for an early polar bear. In my opinion, that's kind of the real big win decision. If you can get an early polar bear, whether you get it like by leveling up during tier 4 or if you just get it right away at the beginning of tier 5, it allows you to take your pick of a pet that you maybe want to cook for a couple of turns, especially if you can maintain your hearts, your health up until the late game. So as of right now on that, I only have 4 hearts left. But what I think I'm going to do here is, I think because of the fact that the otter is still a bit of a scaler at this point. It's not a great one, but it is one. I'm going to bring in the capybara to see if we can get that double buffs for the shop. I also think that, where is that? That will be buffing that. I think the hatching chick is going to be here for a bit, so I'm going to get rid of the otter actually, because I'm going to bring in the giraffe. And I think I'm going to give a meat bone to the hatching chick, and maybe some garlic to this other capybara here. Alright, we will take that win. Currently we are at 3 out of 10 wins. We've got 4 hearts left. It's not a bad spot to be in. I like getting the hatching chick here. We definitely want to get the hatching chick to a level 2 as quickly as possible if we can. I think at this point also I will get rid of the ant and bring in another giraffe. You know, as I was saying, there's not as much scaling in the early game here, so we want to get as much as we can. I'm going to give a meat bone to one of the giraffes, and then we're just going to do 3 rolls and see if we can freeze something that will get some buffs or some levels for next turn. I will take the giraffe level next turn, which is actually perfect because next turn will be the beginning of tier 4, and having a level then will mean that we're getting a level at the beginning of tier 4, which then would mean that would give us a tier 5 2 turns early. So, let's see how we do here. We may win this round, we may not, I don't know. We've got some decent stats in the middle there. You look a bit stronger than this other team, but we'll see. Perfect, I will take the win there. And I think now we're at, what is it, 4 wins, 5 wins? Now we're at 4 wins and we still have 4 hearts. We are going to take the level up with the giraffe. You know, I gotta say, an early rhino is not the worst thing in the world. I really wanted the put you right here. I really did want the my brain's not working right now. Freeze these because we'll get those level ups next turn. I really did want the polar bear, but I'm not going to complain about a rhino. A rhino is a super strong pet, especially with a hatching chick right behind it, so it's going to get a +4 buff. Basically, the way that the rhino works is every time it knocks a pet out, it will do a, I think it's either 2 or 4 attack to a random pet on the other team. So if you can get it to be really strong, like let's say you have a 50-50 rhino and you go up against a team that's weaker, and I'm more than happy with the draw there, that's perfectly okay. But if you go up against a team that's weaker, what ends up happening is if it knocks out the first one and then it's attacked, let's say it's level 3, and then it's the kind of snipe knocks out the next one, and then the snipe can knock out the next one, you could actually knock out, especially if they have like spawn pets that are kind of weak that come when you knock out one of their pets, it can really mess up somebody's team and frustrate them. Very happy to see the polar bear pop out before we even reach tier 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the capybara level just because why not? We are going to roll here. I didn't want to see any of these pets. None of these pets are pets that I wanted to see. But unfortunately, I think that, and let me put this guy here just in case there is a scorpion. I think I'll freeze the rat. I don't think it's going to come in next turn, but I might as well give myself the option to have a strong rat. But I don't think I would end up using it. Because basically with the polar bear, when you freeze a pet, it will, at the beginning of the next turn, when you freeze a pet in the shop, at the beginning of the next turn, it will give it a 4/4 buff, permanent buff. It's pretty strong. We'll take the loss there. We're still at 4 wins. We now have 3 hearts left. We do have a good foundation. We've got the rhino, which is good. It could be stronger, but I'm not complaining about it. And we do have the polar bear, which is great. And we actually have a few hearts where we can potentially cook a pet in the shop. I'm going to keep the rat frozen for right now. I will sell the capybara and bring in the polar bear because 2 polar bears on the team means that anything that's frozen will be getting an 8/8 buff. I will bring in, actually no, I'm going to freeze the rhino. You'll see why in a second. I don't need to freeze the rat anymore. Now hopefully we get like a chocolate or another rhino, something like that. Polar bear is not the worst, but I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give the lemon to the rhino. Because if I level 2 the polar bear here, I'm still going to get the same 8/8 buff. Long term it might be better, but I don't want to freeze the polar bear and make sure that the rhino doesn't get the buff that I need it to get. Because basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to freeze the rhino. It's going to get the 8/8 buff, so it's going to be a 16 attack, 17 a 16-17 rhino, and then I'm going to bring that in on top of this one right here, and maybe even cook it for an extra turn, so that we will get an extra strong rhino just by cooking this one in the shop for a turn or two. It's the basic idea of what we're going to do. I'm definitely going to cook it for probably 2 turns. We definitely want to see if we can find another rhino or chocolate, so that when we bring this one in, we can level it up. Their rhino here might mess us up a little bit. And we take a loss there. I kind of expect us to take a loss around now. I think we're a little bit understated for where the game is at. Oh, I think my math was actually wrong with that. We're going to roll for a second. We'll give some stats to our rhino. It's kind of the core of what our team is being built around. We will take the chocolate, as we were talking about. And that way, next turn, this rhino in the shop is going to be a 22, 25, I think. Which is fairly strong, and then we're just gonna in the shop want to look for something like a T-Rex that will give us some scaling, as long as we have 3 gold left at the end of each turn. So, you know, we just hit level 6 here. If we can roll a couple of times and get a T-Rex, perfect. That is exactly what we needed. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sell this. We're going to bring in this rhino. We're going to stat you up right there. And then we're going to bring in the T-Rex. Going to freeze the octopus. We're going to freeze the popcorn. And now we have a pretty strong, we have a 23-26 level 2 rhino with a lemon on it, which means it's basically a 23-30 rhino with lemon on it. Or, well, it's basically a 23-30 rhino. And every time it knocks out a pet, it will deal 8 damage to the first enemy. We'll just roll a couple of times here. There's nothing too crazy that we're looking for. I'm actually not too opposed to not getting the T-Rex buff this turn, so we can bring this in without messing up our octopus buff. But that means the T-Rex is not going to do anything for us this turn because we need 3. Oh, they got rid of the gold. That's interesting. Oh, wow. It used to be with the T-Rex that you needed, with the Tyrannosaurus, you needed to have 3 gold left at the end of the turn to get the buff. Looks like they got rid of that. That's fantastic. That one I like. We're probably going to get wrecked here at the beginning with these first couple of guys. And we are definitely on lethal right now, so let's make sure that we that's tempting, actually. I think I'm going to do this and give us the double Tyrannosaurus so we get some extra stats. And I think we're going to just give this guy some popcorn so that we have an extra attack before the rhino. I think the rhino is a little bit understated, and the rest of our team is definitely understated, but that definitely helps with having the T-Rexes there. The nice thing, though, is because we're on lethal, we're going to be going up against other teams that only have... that only have 1 life left, which means they're going to be some of the weaker teams. It's the hidden bonus of being in the losers bracket. Definitely take that win there. No complaints about that. I would say because we've got the T-Rex stats, I think that we'll get rid of the hatching check because we're getting the 2/2 buff elsewhere. We'll bring in the octopus. We'll freeze. Oh, if I was smart, I would have done the cow first. We'll freeze that. Whichever one of those you get is fine. I might as well bring in another popcorn. Well, actually, no, the octopus is level 6, so let's bring in the popcorn there. And actually, yeah, I like that. We'll bring this in, so next turn this will be a level 2, which will open up space for the Cobra, which will be right behind the Rhino. Okay, I'm actually fairly positive with this run. I think we're at 6 wins right now, but we've got a fairly strong Rhino. We also have a decently strong octopus right behind it. So basically, if the Rhino were to die and then the octopus needed to attack, it would not only be strong enough to attack and do some damage, but it would also do some sniping after it attacked. Alright, so we're in a pretty good spot here. We will take the level up here. I don't need either of those. We will bring in the Cobra. We will put the Cobra right behind the Rhino because when the friend ahead attacks, this will deal 20% of its attack damage to one random enemy. We are going to buff its attack by giving it this 2/2 buff right here. We are going to roll, and we'll save a lemon for next turn for whoever needs a lemon. Get the 4/2 buff. So basically every single time the Rhino attacks, the Cobra is going to do 13 snipe damage to a random enemy. Yeah, I think we got this. That large hawk is a little bit concerning, but I think we got it, no problem. Perfect. So now I think, was that 7 wins? Oh, that was 8. Yeah, I would say with a strong level of confidence, for lack of a better term, we've got this one in the bag. We don't really need the polar bear anymore, but it's got decent stats for this late in the game, so I'm probably going to keep it. This is a level 6. Sure, we'll bring in another spawn. We don't really have anything like a turkey or anything. I don't think they're even in this weekly where spawning would be helpful, but I don't mind getting another level 6 out there. We'll definitely freeze the chocolate so we can level up the Cobra next turn. Unless we get an octopus, and then I might do that. But basically the way that it's going to work right now is the octopus is going to attack. Every time the octopus attacks, after the attack, it's going to snipe a random pet. So if we get 1 attack, it'll do it once. If we get 2 attacks, it'll do it twice, etc. From there, the Rhino... Oh, we're only going to get 1 because they have a scorpion at the front. I should have recognized that. Then we have the Rhino. The Rhino, every time it knocks one out, is going to snipe a pet. And we go ahead and we take that win with a couple pets to spare. Perfect. So now let me roll just once or twice because I really would like... Ooh, that's fantastic, actually. None of those are what I'm looking for, though, but a level 2 Cobra, 40% attack damage, so that would mean 32... So that would be 8, I think? No, and that wouldn't be 8, that would have been 25%, so it would be, I think, approximately 12 damage every time the pet ahead of it attacks. We're gonna roll. Okay. I think we're gonna win here, but just in case, we've got the level for the octopus next turn, just in case we draw. There's not really a situation where we're in a situation right now because we only have 1 life left. It's either win or draw for us to get to the next turn. We've got a fairly strong team. I think it's going to be a win for us, but we shall see, because it's already turn 16. The other teams that we're going to be facing are going to be fairly strong as well. We are, I think, a little bit ahead of the stat curve now, considering that we've got the really strong Rhino, and this team looks very weak. I think we can pretty comfortably say that we win this, although them overwriting all of our stats definitely messes with us a little bit, but with that in mind, we'll take the 10-piece. Nice little sniper squad, the Octopus Rhino Cobra combo. As you saw, the Polar Bear really changed the game for us because it let us cook some of these pets for a turn or two and get them statted up without necessarily having as much scaling up front. Obviously, in the late game, the T-Rex really brought it home by scaling everybody all the way up. But on that note, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you when I see you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.